we are going to turn back the clock to yesteryear with some of the legends of this sport. Legends around here, Jim Richards, John Bowe, Glenn Seaton, and a bloke called Bradley Jones. Well, Bradley's not racing. He's in the commentary box for the Touring Car Masters with Aaron Noonan. Noots?
Well, Brad, you've made it. You are officially a legend. You're a master.
Yeah, you don't know how much easier that helps me sleep.
7 laps for this first race of Touring Car Masters for the weekend. Bumper field, 30 cars will line up for this one. Not really too surprising that John Bowe starts on pole because he's only had 5 for the season. He won 10 races in a row through the mid part of the year, and this is the penultimate round, and he does lead the points coming in this one. But there's some pretty stiff competition these days in TCM. It all started off as a bit of fun, but it's got a bit serious.
Well, we've got these guys that were front runners in touring cars, and they're all in here now. We've got Jim Richards, who's second on the grid. Gavin Bullis is a great peddler. He's been around for a fair while. Andrew Madecki.
Greg Crick's in a Chrysler Charger that has really been souped up and been quick. Brett Youlden, Cam Tilley's come back with the Mustang. Paul Freestone next. Michael Arman making his Bathurst debut in the Porsche. Steve Mason swapped his old Camaro and is now in a Ford Mustang Fastback. Gary O'Brien comes back to the series in the HQ Holden. Greg Keane in the Porsche 911. Michael Wedge in the HQ Monaro that we saw Jason Richards drove so awesomely on Sunday last year. Tony Edwards down the back. He's had more engine problems in that big SLR 5000 Tirana. He should blast his way through a few of them from 30th on the grid.
And every time I see one of these Monaros, it makes me think of the JR driving up. He was his last race. He did an amazing job in that car, and I remember the look on his face when he got out of it. It makes my spine tingle, I'm trying to say. He did an amazing job in that car, and it's a bit sad in a way to reflect.
He does have the lap record from that race too, 2:22.66. The pole time this year for John Bowe's in the 2:21 bracket. So yes, they're old cars, but there's a lot of go-fast bits in them. We'll be on board with Nigel Benson in the 71 HQ Monaro. But let's not be mistaken here. There's a proper racing rocket ships.
Well, I was going to say he needs to run up to give it. Sounds like we're to 9,000, but they're great cars, and this is a terrific class. I'd like to see the little Porsches get a bit of a hand up and get a bit closer to the front and really replicate what we used to see when I was growing up and used to come to the races and watch all these guys pedal these things around. But they've done a fantastic job. You look at that car at John Bowe's, it always reminds me of Moffat's Mustang there. It's such a beautiful shaped car.
Bowe, Richards, Madecki, they are 1, 2, 3 in the championship. They're 1, 2, 4 on the grid. TCM, they've got 2 classes. Class A for outright cars, 5.1 litres to 6. Class B's Pro Sportsman up to 5 litres. So for the Porsches and the smaller cars. But if you haven't got a V8 here, you're going to struggle. This is Brad Tilley in that mighty green big GT Falcon. He'll start from P5 alongside Glenn Seaton, who in a last-minute deal is driving Doug Westwood's Falcon. And the hardtop that Glenn drove last year, you might remember he won that Sunday race of TCM here last year. Keith Kasuki's taken that car over. He's also on the grid. He's in car number 52, a bit further back in the order.
Doesn't sound too good.
No,
drive shaft problems there, a bit of a shuffle or a rattle.
Yeah, I was waiting to hear a noise. That was Nigel Benson heading back to the lane. Have a look at this crowd. I've not seen a Friday crowd this big in a long time.
This looks like a Sunday crowd. It's so packed in the pits. Trying to get from A to B is almost impossible. It's a bumper crowd.
You are a superstar, though. You're a legend. You're a master. We've said it already.
Yeah. Thanks.
The 50th year celebration race has really captured the imagination of a lot of people in the lead up to this one. Of course, I know you're out there and you're tweeting hashtag V8SC and joining the conversation throughout the course of our 3 days of coverage. I'm on there at Aaron Noonan if you want to send us a tweet during the course of our coverage. But we'll roll back the clock here. John Bowe, former Bathurst winner. Jim Richards, former Bathurst winner. Andrew Madecki, Bathurst podium finisher. Glenn Seaton, Bathurst podium finisher. There's plenty of experience, plenty of history on the grid. It's a Mustang versus an AMC Javelin, a Mustang and a Camaro on road 2. A couple of Falcons next, green flag at the back, 30 cars set to go. John Bowe, the series leader, can they stop Mustang Sally? Seven-time Bathurst 1000 winner. Got this Javelin here for the first time.
so much horsepower. They certainly go in a straight line.
Oh, Maniki up the inside of the former champ, Gavin Bullis. Eddie Aloisi behind him, the red two-door Ford Coupe. But it's Richards who leads, the man with more starts in the 1,000 than anyone, 35 since his first trip here in 74. And this Javelin has been a new car into TCM this year, Brad. It's a little bit different to what we've seen it once. First race at Sandown just a few weeks ago. Nothing better though to get it up front here at the mountain.
And he's put a lot of work in it. Richo's been working on this for a couple of years. He bought it from, I think, in Melbourne and built it into a race car. And it's certainly doing the goods at the moment. You've got to, as you said, you've got to have a V8. I mean, it's great to see Cricky in the Charger up there, but these guys at the pointy end are putting a lot of work into these cars.
Off the top, dropping down. Remember too that this is not strictly historic racing. Yes, they are older cars, but
they're breathed on somewhat. And I've got to say, Glenn Seaton is getting across the top of the hill. Got a bit of speed coming out of Eddie's Falcon here by the looks of things.
Yeah, well, listen, there used to be on throttle when he's driving up the turn, so keep an eye on that with that.
Could be a bit of oil surge. It used to be a problem in these cars a long time ago, but as you mentioned, they're certainly a bit different now to what they were in those days.
If they could do 21s in those days, they'd be stoked.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to this.
I'll tell you, Glenn's going to get John back in a second. If he can pull that thing up at the end of the chase.
Well, Bow's getting Richards. Change for the lead. The two-time 1,000 winner slips on by. I noticed during the week, he's put this car for sale.
Yes, he has.
Is he really going to sell it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, why would you sell something you win everything in? But he's certainly got it on the market. And if you were going to come into the class, it's a perfect car to buy.
Listen to us, used car salesman from Whiteman. That smoke seems to come and go from the Indianapolis car. Brad Tilley just behind him there. Adam Bressington in that number 7 Camaro. That's the ex-Steve Mason car that won the inaugural TCM title back in 2007. Replay the start.
And look at Glenn Seaton. Man, he gets that thing off the line like a shot out of a gun. Squeezes Brad Tilley and pops out in fourth.
This is the onboard shot with Greg Crick in the Charger that didn't charge too well initially.
No, he didn't jump, and then the next mistake you make is you dip the clutch, give it a boot full of throttle, and then it breaks into wheel spin and even more cars go past you. But at that moment, it's pretty hard to convince yourself that you need to be nice and gentle.
Bow leading, Richards second. Former in the 80s or 90s there for a second.
Those cars taking a nice set, the back stepping out on them. I'm very impressed with Glenn Seaton. These cars, the HOs and the XAs and the SLR Torontos, haven't really been quite on the money, but he's doing an amazing job in that car. And it just goes to show you when you get a bloke in that's got a lot of experience and very committed. The big problem, I think, with the Falcon is the brakes. It doesn't quite seem to pull up. It's got a bit too much weight in it, and it's hurting a little bit now after only a couple of laps, but still he's hanging on pretty well across the top of the hill.
Gavin Bullis is the man chasing. Had a bit of a fuel problem with that Mustang yesterday. That smoke's still coming from the back of Eddie Aloisi's Falcon hardtop. Once he gets on the throttle, he seems to be okay. Just on board with Greg Crick in the Mopar back Charger, which is number 75 because it's the 75th year of Mopar in Australia. So if you're not a Holden man, you're not a Ford man, and you're a Charger man, this is your machine.
Now you see that light going on the dash, that's the gear change light. So it comes on at the end of the straight there when it's almost on the rev limiter, and that's a nice move around the outside.
Go Cricky, straight down the inside on Brett Yorman, who of course is his nephew Luke is driving. We just saw him in the Dunlop Series. He'll be with Shane Van Gisbergen on Sunday. Great camera shot there of this massive crowd on pit straight. Bow leads, Richards next, Seaton chasing, Gavin Bullis is fourth, Andrew Benecki best of the GM cars. Camaro sits in fifth. Touring Car Masters lap 3. Welcome back in just a moment. School racing at the top of Mount Panorama. Glenn Seaton third, Andrew Medicki fourth. Race 1 of Touring Car Masters at Mount Panorama, part of the 50-year celebration of the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. But it's John Bowe and Jim Richards who are giving them a master class. But Brad Jones, this didn't go right for Gavin Bullis.
No, he just cleared Glenn Seaton and then he just ran a little bit wide and boom.
Just fold the right rear guard down onto that tyre. We're on board here with Greg Crick, who's menacing Mark King in that Camaro. Cam Tilley in the blue Mustang is trying to carve his way through as well.
And the problem when you're in a position where Greg Crick is here is you're trying to defend, but you're also trying to pass. So you end up pinching yourself a little bit on the inside of the corner so no one slides down the inside. But, of course, then you've got to run onto the car in front of you.
Christ, I keep going to say Viper because we're so used to Cricky driving the Viper in the GT Championship. He finished fourth in the last round at Sand. Now, that's not what you do to a Charger.
Yeah, he's turned that thing into a scrap. Have a look at it.
It's not going to turn.
That's not going anywhere.
And that will park. That's just on the run towards the dipper. Through the S's, and he has pancaked the side of that. Good and proper.
Has he ever? That would be the worst parking position in the world, I think. You see the cars will appear over that rise.
It looks okay on the right side. This is why. Boom! Got the whole left-hand side. And it's the weight watch.
That front tyre.
In the old days, no tyre wall there.
And you see that's hit that hard. It's knocked the tyre net down off the car.
Tilley through. Cam Tilley gets a move done on Greg Crick. To the pits, so that rubbing tyre has cost him in the Mustang.
Absolutely. Well, this isn't the sort of place that you drive around and have a tyre rubbing.
There's a little tight between Crick and King, and that is Seaton slowing.
Well, we saw some fluid coming out of the front of Seaton's car, just behind the right-hand front wheel, and I fear that it's probably got a little bit too hot, and it's not pumping water out anymore. That usually means two things. It's either cured itself, which never happens, or it's got no more water in it.
It's not good either way.
That's what it happens to be.
It's not good either way. He's contending in the top few. He's just going to get out of the way as the rest of the field makes its way on by. That's Chris Collins in the four-door Falcon going by. Crick's not giving in. This Chrysler is hooking across the top. This is... The car it's still being developed, so it's starting to move its way up the order, Brad.
And he's doing a really good job in it. We see Mark King using all the road there, disappearing into that little piece of tarmac in between the curbs. Caution. Some yellow flags down through here for our Charger that's parallel parked.
Not part of the driving test, that one, though.
No.
And a bit of fluid all the way down the mountain with those slippery surface flags.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're assuming that Glenn had an engine problem. Could just as easily be a transmission problem or something else. Now, look at this battle for the lead.
It's on between these two. The two absolute stars of V8 supercar racing in their time. Touring Car Masters, in fact, we're hearing from Race Control, this one's going to be the final lap because of a time certain finish. So, Jimmy Richards might have left his run just that little bit too late. And John Bowe, the former Bathurst 1000 winner, will get Mustang Sally home to another win. He's marching towards back-to-back TCM crowns. Bowe and Richards give a masterclass on the mountain. Medicki will be third, Brad Tilley next. Then Anega Wadisa. Despite having a bit of smoke the whole way, he made it in fifth place. Adam Bracington next, Keith Luskulki in the Falcon hardtop next across the line. Cam Tilley, Greg Crick and Mark King round out the 10. There are the results for you. We'll have more Touring Car Masters action tomorrow from Mount Panorama. The question is, can anyone stop John Bowe? That Mustang is certainly hooked up. Jim Richards and Andrew Medicki seem to be the best. Stick with us. Qualifying for the V8 Supercars not too far away at the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000.
back down the order in ninth, Brett Yule and Mark King. He started on pole all the way back to 10th now. Goes at the straight swap of the top 10 within the quarter. Steve Mason, Bill Pye, back in 12. Chris Collins 13, Nigel Benson 14. Michael Arlen wins the battle of the forces, he's 16. Chris Stillwell 16 for Mustang ahead of Adam Bridgerton. The River got checked round by
The 1-2 finish in 1977 was very clear. I've got very strong memories for the very reason of the end result. When Colin came up alongside me with about 3 laps to go, and the helicopter shots got that so effectively.
Down the straight they go. Car 1, car 2.
On the very, very end of Conrad, he just moved up initially parallel with me and then a little bit in front. And I sent my best telepathic message of my life. Colin, remember who's signing the checks on Monday morning.
Side by side, Colin Bond marginally in front, but he'll ease up for the corner and let his team leader through, I would think.
Just to get up there and qualify one car and finish is certainly worth talking about. It's nice in the record books, but to do it with 2 cars in that fashion, terrific.
Of the crushing victory to Ford here in the Alan Moffat dealer team for victory in the 1977 Valley Road 1000.
Four-time champion, Hall of Famer Alan Moffat, and of course the 1977 famous Ford 1-2 finish. 9 years later, another Alan would win the great race. Alan Grice winning the first of his 2 when the Chickadee Commodore claimed victory in 1986 with Graham Bailey. And Alan Grice is in commentary for our next race on the track, the Legends of the Touring Car Masters. So some great memories and great fun and some great times to talk through. Aaron Noonan, you got Grice in next to you.
Sure do, Matty. It's great to have him here. 2-time winner of the Bathurst 1000. We're getting ready for Touring Car Masters, Chickadee Commodore 86. This is good old school stuff.
Go, you good thing, go.
This was a domination this day.
Well, we had to. We knew we had a problem with oil leaking from the diff, and we, just by bashing the car all day, we made enough space, enough time to top it up, and it worked.
Yeah. Tell you what, guy's been working hard. Here is John Bowe. He's on pole for this 3rd and final race of Touring Car Masters. He's the reigning champ. He's the current series points leader coming into this last race. Massive field of Touring Car Masters cars, but
sure is.
Jimmy Richards is 10th. He's not 10th very often, but he got punted out in the last race, hence why he's starting back on row 5.
He won't be 10th for long, it's fair to say.
No, that AMC Javelin's got a fair bit of pace, but this really reminds you of the 60s and the 70s with Monaros and Camaros and all sorts of good stuff.
Oh, absolutely, and anybody that really likes the mechanics of cars, they should try to find out how to have a look at these things. They're the quickest they've ever been in their life. You know, they're wonderfully put together.
We're looking forward to this one. It starts when we come back to Mount Panorama. There's been enormous changes in this race, though, over the many 50 years.
My dad's still got some 8mm footage of, Bathurst in the 60s. No pit wall. There was a yellow line. That was the difference between a racetrack and pit lane. They had speed braces. They didn't have rattle guns. The crowd just had basically a wire mesh fence. They didn't have transporters. They used to tow them up on back of trailers. Like, everything's evolved, and it's quite amazing to see the transformation of Bathurst as a whole. The way that, that obviously teams conduct themselves, the way that we travel there.
The current drivers have got spaceships, they've got fighter planes under their control, and they can drive them as hard as they want to. In our day, we had to be just a little bit more careful because a lot of things on the car were stock and sensitive to braking, and we had to nurse the cars.
When you think Peter Brock won Bathurst in 1979 by 6 laps. We lost Bathurst last year by 0.2 of a second. It is incredibly competitive, and 50 years is an unbelievable milestone.
I think the spirit of the fans is what hasn't changed. You talk to anyone that's been there, a lot of them have been there 20, 30, 40 years, and that hasn't changed. Everything else around them has, but the actual spirit of a fan hasn't changed.
Bathurst Touring Car Masters on the warm-up block. Don't forget, top 10 shootout, the fight for pole in the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 at 4:30 live Australian Eastern Standard Time from here at Mount Panorama. The guy next to me, Alan Grice, you know about snagging a pole at Mount Panorama, do you not?
Yeah, I have had a couple of those. It's very pleasant.
You did try to start from the escape road one year in a shootout, do I recall? That didn't catch on.
No, that worked that day. You were able to actually get through the corner more quickly.
You were a pretty good runner to the pit straight. Here's the points in Touring Car Masters. John Bauer leads from Jim Richards and Andrew Leakey. This is the penultimate round. They've got another round at Sandown a little later on in the year, but John Bauer is in the box seat to win this title. And this is really the category that reminds us of yesteryear, but under the bonnet of some of these things, it's not yesteryear, it's very modern.
Oh, there's a lot of modern engineering in these things. You know, the cost of components have to be made in a lot of instances for engines. Makes them quite expensive, but they're very reliable, and that's great.
And that's what they've done with this category. It's not strictly historic racing, it's kind of historic/modern. Nigel Benson will be on board in the HQ Monaro. He's second in Class B, coming into this one. It's a massive field of cars, great variety. We should point out too, Glenn Seaton not starting the Falcon, had a drama yesterday. John Bauer, Andrew Radicki pulling up to the front row of the grid.
Sure. Which places? Yep.
It's Brad Tilley Eddie Albanese on road 2. There's one of the Porsches with Greg Keane. They probably need a bit of help. They might need a turbo whacked on the back of that thing to keep up.
Oh, yeah. Every chance they doze off, I think.
John Bower on pole. He's a winning man. He's won 14 races from 20 this year. You'd think he'd share.
He's a show-off. And he loves it.
He has been really the form man in the car they call Mustang Sally. Great field of cars, great variety. We've got Monaros and Camaros, Falcons, Chargers. Greg Crick's been able to push the Mopar back car further up the grid. Porsches and Mustangs and HQs. Final race of the weekend for Touring Car Masters will wind back the clock just a few decades. Remember how it used to be and how it still is at Mount Panorama. Bow and Mediki, Tilly and Albanese. Plenty of Fords at the front. Can the GM products work their way through? Away, 7 laps ahead. A slow start from Greg Crick. Turn 1 and 3 to 1. Bow and Mediki side by side. We've made it through, but where's JB going? 3 wide of the run up mountain straight. This is tight. Oh, yeah, it's on it. Oh, I can beat that.
Sheep station. Very much for sheep station.
Whole countries were on the line there, but somehow they got away with it. Eddie Albanese who won race 2 of the weekend. Look at the background though. Oh, that's close. Adam Brissington down the inside of the Camaro. Gee, it's wild and willing.
There's a lot of blue mist out there.
Bow. Then Brissington, Pete Whistle. There's Jimmy Richardson, that AMC Javelin trying to chip his way up through the order. Starting to the 10. He'll take us the last race of the weekend, though. Watch the top. The fans on top of Mount Panorama love to see these cars. Bring all the club in this big game in the Prom Joe, the North Beach, you know, the Lofton. These guys need to get up. Not tempted to get out there.
Well, at the moment, JB's sitting back and wondering what's going on. He's in the middle of a barroom brawl.
On board with Greg Crick, he's in the Charger that this car's been developing along nicely, taking up to the established Falcons, Camaros and Mustangs and the like. Eddie Albanese's car's smoking. It's been doing that all weekend, but it seems to be going. That was tight. Brett Newton almost out the fence. This long run down Conrod straight for the first time now. We were talking off there before. What was your first Bathurst 1000 car?
A fair 124 Sport Coupe.
I think it'll be still on the grid right about now. This
I could run up the hill faster than that.
So that back to these running faster down the hill because Green Falcon has gone to the lead. SLR 5000's running here at Tony Edwards. Who was the first guy to race one of them?
Yeah, I was.
A couple of years ago.
It was actually an SL 5000. Bowie's sitting back there with his mouth open. I don't think he wants to go into the public bar. He's going to have a look in down the inside, but no.
He covers that off. Touch with the wall. Replay at the start here, and it was all pretty even. Greg Crick was really slowing the Charger, but it was 3 wide in the turn 1, and they kept it going up Mountain Straight. Yeah. Brad Tilley's getting the run right now.
That's got some horsepower.
This is in the tight. Oh, this is even tighter. This is going to keep going. Celebration. I can't believe how many people are here. In all your years of coming here, have you ever seen a crowd like this?
No, and it's Saturday. And it was almost a race crowd yesterday.
Yeah. This is the replay. 3 wide up Mountain Straight, Bow to the right, Albanese in the middle, Mediki on the left.
Oh, excuse me.
That's spicy. Have a look at the bottoming out here on this replay too. Falcon Hardtop was scraping the bitumen on the run up the hill. I'd say natural
He went to my driving school. He did. He was yeah, I suppose he passed, yeah.
Oh, look out! At the tap on the way through. I wouldn't my ability, the Falcon has expired just at the wrong point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, he gets cleaned up.
It'll be a safety car, I'm sure.
Brett Yulden went to make a move on another car, but didn't know he was there and clipped him on the way through on the run to Forest Salvo. Yellow flags will be on display. He wants to get out of here as soon as he can, but everybody knows there's a drama. And this is Greg Creek.
If he'd had an ejection seat, he would have gone for it.
The charge has stopped as well, so dropping like flies on his second lap. Brad Tilley still leads the way.
It's got to be a safety car. Although he's got that out of the road.
Ronnie Anderson's in his watching. Gavin Wallace and Tony Edwards.
It's picnic time in the turf.
Porsches will be looking good if they keep dropping out like this. What on earth is going on?
Oh, they're just having a ball. They are having a ball.
Tilly leading, Mediki next, then John Bow. Adam Bressington's fourth in that blue Camaro. Jimmy Richards up to sixth. There's the replay. I'd say the Falcons expired just there.
Just there.
Not Mediki's fault.
No, definitely not.
We're watching the green Monaro with Brett Yulden. He goes to make a move here on the kick. Oh, it's cut away.
I say, John, and they just did it themselves.
That's where he ends up.
They missed the party up the top, so they thought they'd have one halfway down.
Brad Tilley, he's got a party going. This big Falcon is just charging.
When all that was going on, John Bow would have had eyes like this. Now, this will be interesting.
Now, how on earth is he going to turn this thing around? There's nowhere to do a three-point turn.
No, not with a car that long.
Someone else is going around. Oh, her tyre's screeching, but no one did. But he just hit the fastest lap of the race. And there's no one there to tell him when there's a gap in the traffic.
No, and he's followed up with the slowest lap of the race.
Finish this one here. We'll wait and watch as the whole field approaches.
Yes. He just got in the marbles with that rewrite tyre. No grip.
We saw an accident earlier in the Dunlop series where young Aaron Russell ended up in New Orleans. But he ended up in the same place.
John Bow only needs one more car to expire or spin, and he's hit the lead without passing anyone.
Jim Richards here is up to fifth. He's been chipping his way through. This is an AFC javelin. I don't think we've ever seen a javelin at Bathurst before until now. It's a work of art though. Anything Jimmy does, he does it properly.
Oh, beautiful football.
Love hearing these things. They're on the rev limiter at the end of Conrod Straight. Now this is that's Brett Yulden. Next lap around, nearly having another crash. Never got hard luck, you know.
This is the best fun I've had all day.
This is not a Bathurst 1000. I was struggling to do Bathurst 100.
Look at this. Jimmy's through to what, fourth?
Yep, up to fourth, fastest man on the road. Shannon's javelin. Out front though, JB's just staring his prey.
Yeah, he's just waiting for the action to happen right in front of him.
Bressington now is third in that Camaro. That's the next Steve Mason championship winning car. Tony Edwards just had engine dramas in that Toronto this weekend. He's up to seventh, which is a good run. Gavin Bullis, former champ, is eighth. Not good news though for Chris Cameron, bringing the four-wheel Falcon back into pit lane, so he drops out of the top 10. We often get Ask Gricey through the V8 Supercars website. Former drivers, what's filling up your time? What are you up to these days?
Oh, it's amazing how you find how to fill your weekend. I'm actually selling our own type of beer, which keeps me busy.
Who would have thought?
Oh, look at the water coming out of that.
That might need a bit to top it up.
That's not Black Diamond beer, that's water.
It's expired. This is Tony Edwards. Have a look at this left front.
Have a crack. Yeah.
Was
Good
like that,
stuff.
Was it like that in 74?
Oh, he's only got one off the deck. That Falcon's looking strong. Bow's got that look about him.
It's just what he needs to do. He's got a good lead in the championship. He's actually placed this car for sale.
Barry, has he?
Yeah, really. I've got a funny feeling though that whoever buys it might end up with a driver in it already.
I thought he took it home and used to put it in the big bed every night.
These two have spent their way. Jimmy Richards, though, the fastest man on the road.
Just a bit far back, maybe.
Yeah, about 5 seconds back to the leader.
JB picked the places in the past, and he'll probably wait for another level or so.
It's not going to be here though, because that green Falcon has got way too much straight away.
It's a jet, yeah.
Not flat through the chase. Huston's probably stopping. And all that margin that he just got, he's lost. Yes. End of Conrod. What do you think of the day? No chase. He's absolute fun.
The Falcon's starting to lose some tyres. Starting to lose tyres.
Now it's just hunting. Doing the 25s. Jim Richards 2:23.36.
It's not all over for Jim.
It's coming on strong. 3.5 seconds to find and 3 laps to find it in. He's just in the back of the shot there. Tell me, mate. You're going to tip for tomorrow? He's going to win this 50th celebration race.
Well, can you tell me what the weather's going to do? No, we've seen 100 degrees and we've seen snow the same day, the different year.
Give me a tip. What do you reckon? Who's looking good? Stevie Richards and Mark Winterbottom, they're up there.
Yeah, it's hard to go past Triple H.
They are pretty dominant. They've been pretty strong, of course. We'll decide pole very soon in the top 10 shootout. What about your old Bob, the Holden Racing team that you're snagging in 1990?
Couldn't find it. I think Tom Organshaw's whipped it on a plane back to England. I don't know where it is.
These two are really out of power, though. In fact, they're going to call this one a couple of laps short. So this one, in fact, is going to be the last lap. So if Jimmy Richards was planning on using 3 laps, he's only got 1 to get it done, and he's probably a bit too far back.
Same with John Bow, because across the top of the mountain there should be strong in this car.
Off the top of the hill for the final time of the Touring Car Masters, we'll have the Hughes and the Porsche Carrera Cup cars back on track in the morning before the start of the 50th year celebration race for the Super G Auto Bathurst 1000. Richards looking, not quite close. Anyway, this is car from the exit. The cross elbow. And the run down Conrod for the final time. Brycey, the current V8 Supercar Formula, unbelievably competitive. Could you have ever imagined, for all the years that you raced Group C and Group A, that it would be so absolutely tough as it is now?
Yeah, it is high competitive, there's no doubt about that. You can see here Jimmy's having a big crack, and he's got it. Yeah. JB hasn't given up. Look at the power of that Falcon, though. It's got something.
And he's going to cover it because he knows where JB will try to get by. So the final race of Touring Car Masters for the weekend will be a win.
Try and cross him underneath.
It'll be a win for Ford, but which one? It'll be the Falcon in the end. The margin's 0.3 of a second. John Bow second. And Jimmy Richards comes home strong the second time. The Bathurst 1000 winner finishes in 3rd.
Don't you just love that horsepower? You've got that little bit of an edge. He drove very well, notwithstanding, he drove very well, but boy, you can be skillful in a straight line.
It's all about the V8s and Touring Car Masters. Thank you, Gricey. Great to catch up with you. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Keith Kasuki, 5th from Gavin Bullis. Mark King, Tony Edwards, Bill Pye, and Steve Mason rounded out the top 10. Not too far away. The fight for pole, the top 10 shootout at Bathurst soon.